saying was, the state requires houses to be built a certain elevation minimum. And that is for drainage and keeps houses from flooding, et cetera, et cetera. What they don't require. Just taking, we'll make a motion to approve a certificate of appropriateness for items A, B, and C.
Second. The motion by Vice Mayor Basso, a second by Commissioner Eckert to approve items A, B, and C. The certificate of appropriateness for items A, B, and C. Any further discussion on those three? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign? Those three carried unanimously. I do have, that brings us right to D, and I do have a public speaker card on 14D, Mr. Perry.
Well, we have an application that is not that. It's not what you're saying is agreed to.
That's why I read
And that's what we would be approving tonight.
Yeah, I'm surprised they didn't catch it on his review of replacement of that shed.
Well, they have to.
For it says, you know, for the woods and the gateway.
They have to.
We don't represent, if I may, I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor. I can only speak for the Historic Preservation Board, not the HOA. And of course, we're trying to please the desires and wishes of the applicant, the homeowner, and that is what he presented. So we can only assume that that was his wish and desire, and we reviewed it in such a manner.
Where is the HOA in the process?
No, HOA, we don't enforce HOA regulations, so they're independent approvals. So if it comes to, it's kind of a chicken or egg thing, we've talked about this before, it comes through us and we review it based on our regulations. Then the HOA has to approve it. And if either one goes first and then the second one doesn't approve what the previous one did, and they have to come back to the previous one. So we don't, see, if we say our approval is conditioned upon it,
Yes, it will.
Yes.
Yes, it will.
Because the modification would have to go back to the Historic Preservation Board for their approval, and then it comes back, I believe Ariel is that. But they can still order, if I may, they can still go ahead and, if it's approved, they can order.
To discuss the process and ensure that the homeowners will not have to return when we do not approve something. So based on the discussion that I've heard now, if this shed, when it comes to the HOA, and for whatever reason we don't approve it, and they have to make a modification, it is coming back to the city for approval and review.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, I misspoke. I was wrong. That's twice that I went wrong.
Okay, and so the
One more
conversation.
time, I get to go home.
That's okay. So the conversation that we had previously is that we wanted to minimize that, right? We know that there are going to be instances where we're not going to be able to approve something. And the question or the intent in that discussion was to have something on your approval that said, first, that you have to go to HOA, that you have to get HOA approval and review. And secondly, if we know already now that there's an issue, isn't there a way on your form to put, it's approved with this exception? I've seen them before, where you've added to your approval, it's approved, but you have to do these qualifications.
That can be done. We don't have the homeowner here to make that request.
So that's the issue, that they're not
They're
here.
not here.
So it's going to come to us, we're not going to approve it, and they're going to have to come back to you.
It could go that way, but again, that's not, we can't.
I think the part that I want to, the reason I want to approve is so he can order it, because this is a pre-manufactured, correct?
Yeah, but it's,
Yeah, but we tell them not to order anything until it's
I understand that, but, and it's their risk, okay? But it gives them the opportunity to do that, because it's just an orientation. It's nothing.
Well, as you know right now, right?
Yeah.
I have a student application
Yes,
for
yeah,
that
yeah,
degree,
yeah.
so
I can-
that's why we always say, do not approve anything until it's approved. They don't put that on their approval thing, it's gonna be approved from your point of view, but they still have to come to us for the.
You know, it almost seems like, just for process, it seems like it should go through the HOA first.
I think we talked about that.
That's what makes sense to me.
Right.
At least on anything that, goes through the certificate of appropriateness. Because that way, when it comes to the city, for us,
You know we've got our best.
we've sort of got the stamp on it and boom, boom.
first before you come to us, but if they come to us.
Kurt Smith for 91 West Delaware. I just have a quick question of that mode, outside judicial. Don't we swear people in for that? I think that's a very important part in doing it in any other city I've lived in. When you have something like that, you need to be sworn in when they're testifying. It's actually a testifying moment for it. So just point of order on that. So just don't check it. Keep everything in checks and balances. The main reason why I wanted to talk tonight, or why I showed up tonight, was going back to the ARPA money. I made a comment about it and nobody wanted to respond to it. And here again, I feel like when we talk about stuff, it falls on deaf ears and nobody really wants to respond to anything like that. Well, kind of, sort of. I mean, I just think that the ARPA money has become a slush fund. I mean, we've got water issues, like I said.
Architectural and everything, but that we don't even consider the elevation of the house, how it fits into the rest of it, that made no sense to us. So we just said, okay, you need to meet state minimum, but you can't exceed 6 inches beyond that.
Okay, any further discussion on these certificates of appropriateness A through G?
Yes, I'd like to call E, F, and G on a separate vote from A through.
Okay, would you like to make a motion then of A through D?
I'll make a motion.
I'll make that
Card.
motion to
There's a card there for 14D.
D.
D is a dog.
Let's just take the, well, I'll make a motion to approve a certificate of appropriateness for items A, B, and C.
second.
Then a motion by Vice Mayor Basso, a second by Commissioner Eckert to approve items A, B, and C, the certificate of appropriateness for items A, B, and C. Any further discussion on those three? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign? Those three carry unanimously. I do have, that brings us right to D, and I do have a public speaker card on 14D, Mr. Perry.
Ron Ferret, 451 West Michigan Avenue. This is my next door neighbor, is 427. He's requesting a shed. And what's been approved is a 10 by 16 shed with 16 feet running perpendicular to my house. And if you look at the drawings of the shed, Mr. Morales has required them to match it. It's got like a front porch to the shed to match the columns of his house. But those are facing to the interior of his lot. And he's got barn doors facing the road, which would not be a very attractive look as you drive past his house. I talked to my neighbor, and he says, yeah, he would like to turn his shed 90 degrees, so as you drive by, you'll see the front porch to the shed, matches the front porch to the house. He has no issues. We'd like you to approve it with adding that as a contingency, just so it goes with the bill.
I've got no problem with that. I'd like to hear from Mr. Morales on whether or not he's got any idea over that.
I think we would also have to hear from the homeowner or a request to make that change. Mr. Morales, please. Thank you, Mr. Perry.
Bobby Morales, store designer.
All right. If you would state your name and address for the record.
Roxanne Goodman, 391 West Michigan Avenue. I just wanted to confirm, because there's been a lot of confusion about the process, and I know that the HOA did come up here to discuss the process and ensure that the homeowners will not have to return when we do not approve something. So basically, the discussion that I've heard now, if this shed, when it comes to the HOA, and for whatever reason we don't approve it, and they have to make a modification, it is coming back to the city for approval and review,
Yes.
right?
I misspoke. I was wrong. That's twice today I've been wrong.
Okay, and so the
One more time, I
conversation,
get to go home.
that's okay. So the conversation that we had previously is that we wanted to minimize that. right? We know that there are going to be instances where we're not gonna be able to prove something. And the question or the intent in that discussion was to have something on your approval that said, first, that you have to go to HOA, that you have to get HOA approval and review. And secondly, if we know already now that there's an issue, isn't there a way on your form to put it's approved with this exception? I've seen it before, where you've added to your approval, it's approved, but you have to do these qualifications.
Yeah.
That can be done. We don't have the homeowner here to make that request.
So that's the issue, is that they're not here.
They're not here.
Okay, so it's going to come to us, we're not gonna approve it, and they're gonna have to come back to you.
It could go that way, but again, that's not, we can't.
I think the part that I want to, the reason I want to approve it is so he can order it, because this is a pre-manufactured, correct?
Yeah, please.
Yeah, but we can tell them not to order anything until it's.
I understand that, but, and then it's their risk, okay? But it gives them the opportunity to do that, because it's just an orientation. It's nothing.
Well, as you know right now,
Yeah.
I haven't seen that.
Yes, yeah.
So
I concur.
that's why we always say, do not approve anything until it's approved. If they don't put that on their approval thing, it's gonna be approved from your point of view, but they still have to come to us for it.
You know, it almost seems like, just for process, it seems like it should go through the HOA first.
I think we talked about that.
That's what makes sense to me.
Right.
At least on anything that, goes to the certificate of appropriateness. Because that way, when it comes to the city, for us,
You know, we've got our blessing.
we've already got the stamp on it and boom, boom.
We did talk about that, I'm not sure where we ended up, Scott, there was something in the,
I think where we ended up was that they would have to be, they could be told that just because we approve it, you still have to go through HOA approval. So you may want to look at there first before you come to us, but if they come to us with an application and they want to move forward, then we need to review that application. Our codes do not say we don't process an application until you get into approval.
So basically, you're saying the homeowner has the choice of where they take the purchase.
Yeah. And it could be,
It's not static.
it could be either way, because just because the HOA approves it doesn't mean we're going to.
Sure.
And just because the city approves it doesn't mean the HOA approves it. So it's a chicken or egg thing, you run the risk of having to go back, to the previous one anyway.
That's the joys of living in an HOA. I mean,
Exactly.
it's the realities of living in an HOA, is that it adds another layer of process.
So, the discussion here was, at least from our architecture guy, doesn't seem like a big deal because it's just orientation. The HOA may say, we don't want to shed at all.
That's right.
That's a different issue. Our issue was orientation, the shed was fine, but the HOA could stop it altogether.
Okay.
This is one of the reasons why it's important for the applicant to be present throughout the process.
Well,
It's easier to make changes.
and it behooves them to be here
It does.
if they want the process to be more expeditious.
Well, we still have before us the request, which we need to either confirm or deny, affirm or deny for the COA. We have a motion to approve it, I believe. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed, like sign? Motion carries. Okay, so now we're to item E, 128 East Craig Avenue, Lot 3.
But do you want to look at these all individually?
No, we can look at all at one time.
Oh, basically, at the 10, okay.
It's basically the same thing on each one.
Okay.
If I have to admit, I've delayed looking at this in time, and when I tried to go to look at it, I had no access to my files because we have no power at my house, and no internet or nothing. But if I recall right, our property line distances to the building are 15 or 25 feet. And he's wanting 10 to 0, if I read these drawings correctly. One of them, the one up there on the corner, the overhang of the house is actually outside the property line.
Well, we're working on a certificate of appropriateness for the houses, when you're talking about where the house is on the lot.
Well, going by what they submitted the applications. I mean, I'm looking,
This is what?
page 50 is one of them that showed that.
Which page are you on?
Page 50,
Okay, sorry.
thank you. That's one of them, and the other one is page 79.
So what is your, I'm not fully aware of what question you're asking. What are you asking?
The other one is on page 63. The proposed buildings and everything, I mean, he's trying to reduce the distances between the property line and the houses. And that's gonna put us into a Deltona, D-land type building environment. I don't wanna see us start allowing close to zero lot line buildings
Roger,
and then be stuck in it.
I'm looking at, sheet 78, and I'm looking at all of these houses, all of these lots on here. And I don't see anything that appears to be zero lot line, or even close to it.
Go to 63, and it's got the distance between the lot line and the house.
You see 63.
I guess that would be on the north side
So
of
I've
the
got
house.
63. I see,
10 feet.
1 inch distance from the property.
which, the left side seems to be 10'1". The right side, that looks like a typo because it can't be 5'4" because.
I know that driveway's got to
The
be.
driveway's going to be 12 feet anyway.
There's a
The
one.
front it doesn't, in the back, I don't see anything that's zero. I see 10 feet, 10 foot 1 inch.
Well, I think our distances from the property line are greater than 10 feet.
Well, on front and back typically it may be, but on sides, it's usually 10 feet, and you can go as small as 8 if you got 12 on the nose, I believe. But I don't think we have, and
That's why I wanted to review
Yeah.
the codes on it to see what our code says. because
you can, but this country, that's really not what we're dealing with. We're dealing with certificate programs for the building. When they go to build the building, and they put it on there, it has to meet our requirements. I think these do. If you want to hold off on doing the certificate until you can satisfy yourself,
Ain't satisfied myself, to me, it's satisfying the codes.
well, I believe it does satisfy the code. So you need to satisfy yourself that it satisfies the code. Because you think that it doesn't, and I think it does.
And if I may interject here, this is a quasi judicial hearing, and not having substantive, what's the phrase? The substantial competent evidence to the contrary, we can't deny based on what we don't know. We have to have substantial competent evidence that it won't work. Is the way the quasi judicial, I'm not being argumentative, that's just the way the quasi judicial lands.
When they go to build, Roger, that's when, one of the things that you have to do, I know because you just did it, you have to provide a form board survey, which shows the distance of your form board to the property line. You can't pour your slab until you have that done. So if they go in and it's 6 feet and it calls for 10, they will not get signed off on by the inspector, so they can't. And if they do, they're gonna be forced to tear it down. So what I'm saying to you is, although it's honorable that you're concerned about it, I personally believe that what you're concerned about is taking care of the inspection process. And what I'm looking at, it meets the criteria.
Well, as is, since it's a quasi judicial thing, and I'm one of 5 judges, I do not have enough information, and I will cast my vote as I see fit when it comes time.
That's fair. Of course, absolutely. Wouldn't expect anything less. So are we going to look at these last, each F and G, these last three, Commissioner Eckert, you were saying are basically the same issue. So we'll, if without objection, we'll consider them as three in one. Is there any further discussion on this?
No, I make a motion to approve certificates of appropriateness as designed for, as guided by Mr. Morales for item E, F, and G, 128 East Craig Avenue, lots 3, 7, and 10. Motion to approve.
A motion, do I hear a second? Second. I have a motion from Vice Mayor Basso, a second from Commissioner Bishop to approve the certificate of appropriateness for items E, F, and G, 14 E, F, and G. Any further discussion from the commission? I've already said it, I don't need to say it again. All in favor, say aye. Public forum cards. First one is Kurt Sniffen, second is Ron Perry. Mr. Sniffen?
Kurt Sniffen for 91 West Helen. I just have a quick question, but that vote was like additional. Don't we swear people in for that? I think that's a very important part in doing it. And then any other city I've lived in, when we have something like that, people need to be sworn in when they're testifying, because it's actually a testifying moment for it. So just one of order on that, so just we can double check it, keep everything in checks and balance. The main reason why I wanted to talk tonight, or why I showed up tonight, was going back to the ARPA money. I made a comment about it and nobody wanted to respond to it. Compared to, I feel like when we talk about stuff, it falls on deaf ears and nobody really wants to respond to anything like that. Well, kind of, sort of. I mean, I just think that the ARPA has become a slush fund. I mean, we've got water issues, like I said, that I think are a little bit more important. But one of the other things is, and I was going to speak on it, but I think somebody in the back is going to speak on it, hopefully, because I almost like to. I just asked you all to just pay attention to that money because it's going to be gone. And one suggestion I'd like you all to look at over at Lake Park, one of the fastest growing sports in the community is pickleball. A lot of people, as we get older in age, can't really play tennis as well as we used to. And pickleball is not as strenuous on the joints and stuff. So I would like to see if we can do something with the tennis courts to convert it to pickleball and tennis at the same time. So that's it.
That's a good idea.
That is a good idea. And I'll come back to that. Like I said, I'll make notes and we'll come back to you. So the next is Mr. Perrick, and then after Mr. Perrick will be Bill DePresto, I believe. Okay.
Ron Perrick, 451 West Michigan. I stood up here either last meeting or the meeting before and asked why you dug a big hole through our retention pond for the woods of Lake Helen. And you kind of had the impression it was your pond. It belongs to the woods of Lake Helen. Now I see that we have a drainage ditch that was put in. My question is, was it engineered? Because what I see, we have a retention drain that drains into our pond. Now, when that pond reaches that level of that retention or that drain, it's going to backflow through that drain down the street. So, to me, the engineering stinks because it took away probably half the amount of retention that we can do and it was designed to hold. And you proved that wrong when you took the canal and put a canal in there and flooded out the Shaker Canal. Because we could have held a heck of a lot more water. The second question is, you didn't ask permission to do it the first time, and now you've done something else to our retention pond without permission from our HOA. I don't understand why you can keep on making the same mistake over and over with no accountability. Because I've already heard that the Schaefers were gonna put a lawsuit against the city, now the woods of Lake Helen, because it's our pond. Sorry, it's your pond where you're gonna be included. You know, let's get the thing right and follow procedure. And how did we do an engineer study? We didn't do an engineer study the first time, we just took out the dike. So,
Well, yeah, let's let it finish. Let's
Oh, I
let it.
thought it was.
oh, I'm finished. Would you like me to say?
Would you like him to say, are you gonna ask him questions or?
No, I'm just gonna say, my assessment of the storm drainage problem that was there, that was exacerbating the flooding at Schaefer's, went all the way back to the original design of the works. There should have been additional storm drainage inlets at the end of, what is that street that comes down and gets, because now water, to capture that water and put it into the pond. But there's several hundred feet from the last catch basin to catch the water that's coming out of the woods. Anything beyond that goes out into the street of the city of Lake Helen. The design, there was a flaw in the design